It's been 17 years since Saul Canelo Alvarez first stepped foot into the pro boxing world. With a whopping 61 total fights with only 2 losses since then, the dynamic pound-for-pound legend out of Guadalajara, Mexico, has torn through the boxing scene on his way to sitting atop the boxing pinnacle. Alvarez is possibly the most perfect combination of speed, technical ability, ring IQ, and of course, his legendary unrelenting explosive power. In this video, we will look at the 12 most notable times that Canelo Alvarez unleashed his dominant power upon the sports world, destroying champion skilled fighters. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like and subscribe. Shane Mosley was one of the best welterweight and middleweight fighters of his time. However, in his final fight in his career, he would take on a young Canelo Alvarez who was amassing his exceptional storm through the boxing world, with Mosley being one of young Alvarez's big-time scalps en route to his confrontation with Floyd Mayweather Jr. Mosley started off strong in the bout, looking solid and experienced against the young lion. As the rounds went on, Alvarez's youthful exuberance was starting to turn the fight against Shane.
Beautiful, powerful, straight and left, and those are the type of punches that has been getting the attention of the crowd for the most part and the judges, because he punches.
The later rounds were all built on Alvarez's momentum, with Canelo cruising to a solid unanimous decision victory over Shane Mosley.
In 92, if Shane had made it, could he have just as big a favorite to win gold as Oscar?
Very courageous fight. He trying to wire to the last few seconds. He's still fighting.
Way more than he gave in his.
Many thought Canelo wasn't ready for Trout, but Alvarez went on to dominate Trout for a wide unanimous decision victory. Trout appeared to have a sound strategy in the opening first rounds, but after the third round, Alvarez's strength took control, and in the 7th round he knocked down Trout for the first time in his professional career.
With those body shots Trout throwing,
Canelo doing a good job.
We see a good exchange from these two fighters. That was a little earlier in the round where
The case when you have a conventional fighter, and there is Canelo dropping Trout with a strike.
Despite the bout being closer than anticipated, Alvarez continued to dominate Trout with excellent head movement and startling power.
and fairly effectively gets the good strong
Guadalajara, Saul Canelo.
Just 2 fights removed from his bout with Floyd Mayweather Jr., Canelo would encounter Cuban middleweight Lara. The fight was considered Canelo's toughest outside of the Floyd bout, while also being his most controversial victory via a split decision. 2 judges scored the bout 115 to 113 for either combatant, and the final judge gave Alvarez the win with a score of 117 to 111. Many observers felt the final scorecard was excessively broad, which caused significant controversy. CompuBox reports that Lara connected on 55 of his jabs, compared to just 9 for Alvarez, who had a 5% contact rate.
Respond to anything Canelo does. But another nice combination.
very early. Canelo's not a slow guy, but the problem is he's not as fast on the trigger.
Yeah.
And that's a different kind of speed on and of itself.
Started very aggressively against Alfredo Angulo. He's not facing.
Lara started off well, winning the early rounds with a stick-and-move strategy. The blows Lara threw weren't strong or frequent enough to stop Alvarez from pressing the fight against the retreating Lara. When he had Lara up against the ropes, he was able to hammer away at Lara's body, despite the fact that he had labored against Lara's 1-2 combinations.
And kind of to show it, and then
Straight left by Lara. Lara doing a good job of targeting the.
and you also got to give credit at a certain point to ring generalship.
The split decision victory was Canelo's closest and most controversial decision against the incredibly slick Lara. James Kirkland, at this point in time, was one of the middleweight division's most feared rivals, amassing one of boxing's scariest reputations as a vicious knockout puncher. Infamous for knocking out sparring partners in training, entering his bout with Alvarez, Kirkland was 32-1, another nerve-wracking encounter for the young Canelo.
Both fighters have been hurt in round 1. Hard right hand.
Kirkland started off aggressively, but Alvarez knocked him down in round 1 with a hard right hand after wobbling him.
Hard right hand. Down goes Kirkland. Minutes still to go.
Left body shot right now. Straight right hand, right down the pipe. That hurt, and that sent Kirkland to the can.
The counter right uppercut sent Kirkland to the ground in the 3rd round.
Taking every shot and coming back.
And telling him to cut. There he is.
Uppercut knocks Kirkland down. Second up. 5, 6, 7.
Alvarez knocked out his challenger by landing a body jab followed immediately by a right hand in brutal succession.
Right uppercut continues to land. There's a perfect straight right hand.
Maybe all things considered the most electrifying.
In one of the most graphic knockout shots in boxing, Canelo's jumbo right hand on Kirkland shocked the boxing world due to the wake of destruction left in Kirkland's aggressive path.
Wow. An amazing win for Alvarez. Let's go to Michael Buffer for the particulars on the knockout.
Miguel Cotto is one of the more respected fighters of his generation. However, Canelo would leave his mark on yet another legendary fighter. Cotto had zero chance for most of the fight, as Canelo's speed and ring IQ allowed him to move through all of Cotto's attempts to punish the Mexican.
Conservative so far, looking not to make a mistake. And that body shot, trying for the right hand over the top.
Little sting on it.
He's doing as much damage as Canelo is right there with the right hand.
Well, that was the hardest punch of the fight.
And so when Cotto lands his...
As the fight went on, Canelo was gaining pure momentum due to his power, whereas Cotto couldn't keep up with Alvarez's onslaught.
The level, or was it because all 3 of those...
Doing more damage, that's all there is to it.
Canelo unleashed a brutal body attack on Cotto for most of the fight, leaving Cotto struggling to land his destructive blows.
For Alvarez, another uppercut, a right hand
over the other.
Oh, good exchange of hooks.
Tremendous left hook by Cotto.
It's vice versa. It's going to be interesting to see the way this...
Alvarez cruised to a massive unanimous decision victory in turn, winning the lineal middleweight championship, which he still holds today. Cotto retired 2 fights later. The legendary power of Canelo Alvarez was detonated on British boxing legend Amir Khan in an overwhelming manner. Khan was another victim in Canelo's long line of legendary fighters sent close to retirement. Khan, now past his prime, still showed remnants of the speed that allowed him to topple seasoned champions. However, the size and power of Canelo Alvarez was too much for Khan over 6 rounds, with set power overloading and hitting Khan with one of the worst knockout overhand rights in boxing history.
Shot like that is not only the punch on the chin that short-circuited Khan's legs, it's the fact...
As Canelo was building momentum and rapidly honing his innate superhuman power, he came face to face with Liam Smith. Before his destruction at the hands of Alvarez, Smith was an undefeated ruthless body punisher with an 8-win streak via knockout entering the bout. Smith, although a dangerous puncher himself, was handed a lesson into the sweet science of power punching and defensive acumen. Liam Smith weathered the Canelo hurricane early on, but after being dropped in the 7th, 8th, and then in the 9th round, Alvarez put a brutal and remarkable end to Smith's courageous performance, demonstrating his elite body shot ability.
Landing on both sides.
Oh, good body shot.
And you'll make a great fight every time.
Well, this is why people are so
that's it.
anxious.
He'll get up no way.
Good, ref.
Canelo Alvarez.
The magnum opus in the career of Canelo Alvarez was one of sheer determination, where 2 cold-blooded power machines in Canelo Alvarez and Gennady Golovkin incinerated the boxing ring.
In the rematch.
Oscar De La Hoya and Tom Law for the promoter said this is round 2016. Canelo, wild swing in the middle, Canelo fight. In order to get it, he's not going to get it, but he's also set himself up to is the same thing I'm telling Gennady Golovkin to do. So if they throw a jab after the combination, they'll be on back.
The boxing world was treated to 12 rounds of precise technical ability coupled with unrivaled power.
Found him as a kid where he walked into their gym, and from humble beginnings, and of course he was like, this dude was here.
Golovkin is working very hard.
Oh, good right hand from Gennady Golovkin.
That right hand might have shook Canelo just a little bit.
He ate a huge right hand.
Then something changed in his fight. Well, something happened in round 10.
Just beautiful boxing.
When the result was called, Canelo had defeated Golovkin by an exceptionally close majority decision. To unify his IBF title with the WBA, WBC, and the ring middleweight crowns, Daniel Jacobs fought Canelo Alvarez. Both competitors avoided many blows in a fight that was primarily tactical. Canelo emerged as the more cunning and effective of the two.
Excuse me, right uppercut.
The bout was relatively close, with the length and speed of Jacobs making for an excellent stylistic fight against the lower, more powerful Canelo. Both fighters would start off strong, however during the middle rounds, the grip on the fight switched hands multiple times.
Losing rounds, so he has to stand there. He must do something different. Moving Jacobs back. Hit him with a hook. Say, all right, I gotta go.
I think we're seeing flashes of that right now.
Final seconds. What's left?
As the fight came to a close, it did look as though Alvarez had a slight advantage over Jacobs in the scorecards. His defense and tactical abilities likely giving him the edge.
Who picks up another belt and stays.
Alvarez is one of the few champion fighters that never runs from a fight and will never be intimidated by any challenge. So much so that Alvarez jumped up multiple weight classes to duel with Russian knockout machine Sergey Kovalev in the light heavyweight division.
Remind you, protect yourself and obey my commands. God bless you both.
If they glance, you'll get slaughtered if you do that.
What Canelo's doing now, he's forcing Kovalev to throw shots. He's nothing on. You can't see nothing on. He's just caught.
Short with the right hand there, and Canelo countering to the body, effective.
Kovalev, although towering over Canelo, was no match for the Mexican's exceptional strength and power. Canelo, for the majority of the fight, was spent muscling the larger Kovalev backwards, with Alvarez on the attack.
That there is a bit more to come from the Mexican, but on August the 24th.
Kovalev's body was a prime target, receiving unrivaled annihilation over the entire bout. With so much pressure applied for 11 rounds, eventually the bubble would have to pop. Canelo landed a terrifying combination on Kovalev before knocking the Russian out and into the ropes. Of all of Canelo's great power offerings to the boxing world, Billy Joe Saunders suffered the worst break in boxing, an orbital fracture. It is unclear whether or not Billy Joe joined the aforementioned list of fighters to lay down their gloves post-Canelo. But when the two champs came face to face in 2021, it was Saunders' face who came off second best. At the time, Billy Joe was considered a potential stylistic nightmare for Canelo. Saunders' movement, technique, and ring IQ had allowed him to go undefeated. For the first 7 rounds of the fight, this looked as though this was the case as Canelo looked to somewhat struggle with Billy Joe's skill set. Both fighters would exchange a great look into their technical abilities in close quarters for the first rounds. However, in the 8th round, Canelo detonated an ungodly uppercut on Saunders' face, completely destroying the Brit's orbital bone.
In the last round, 68-66 Canelo. He's only 2 rounds up. Saunders took an awkward step back, and now he's holding on. The right eye of Saunders is swelling up. Canelo rallying his troops here at 8.
When the round finished, Billy Joe was forced to retire on his stool due to the damage caused by said punch in a brutal showing of the legendary and superhuman power of Canelo Alvarez.
Stop the fight! It is
If you enjoyed that video, feel free to like and subscribe for more boxing content.